Kia ora koutou katoa, whānau. Welcome to another Thursday edition of Te Upoko Hora Whenua Tribal Nations MC Radio. It's the second Thursday in November here in Arrow FM in Masterton. And November, as you might know, is the White Ribbon Month, and that's the focus of our kōrero for the next few weeks. It's all about leading up to White Ribbon Day on the 25th of November. That's White Ribbon Day, and there's many events going on throughout the country to raise awareness about the White Ribbon kaupapa, and one of those events is the White Ribbon Ride. And joining us in the studio this evening, we've got the usual guests from the whānau, from the local Masterton Wairarapa whānau. We've got my wife Charlene Thompson. We've got brother Matua Darcy Tiliad. Brother Matt Shackleton.
What's up, guys?
And joining us too this evening, we've got some very, very special guests, whānau, joining us all the way from the mighty Waikato. These are White Ribbon Riders who have come down all the way from the Waikato. They're heading down to the South Island to take part in the White Ribbon Ride. So I would like to introduce you all to our club vice president, one of the original founding members of our club, an artist and a singer-songwriter extraordinaire, man of many talents, Brother Tiki O'Brien. Welcome, brother.
Kia ora, brother. Look, it's just awesome to be here, especially in Masterton, and nei ranga mihi kia koutou katoa e whakarongo maina ki te irirangi o Arrow. Ano e rā kā nui te aroha kia koutou katoa. Look, brother, hey, we were blessed from the rain and the wind from leaving the Waikato. But as soon as we arrived here at the radio station, the sun began to shine and I could hear all the birds whistling. I felt a song coming on. But no, look, especially the brothers that are here, it's a big kaupapa, this ripene ma, or white ribbon. But I actually brought a very, very special guest here who can help highlight a lot of the white ribbon way back before I started. So just to recap, I started in 2013 as a white ribbon rider, and it was because of this fella that's sitting right next to me. The awesomeness of this guy is so awesome. His name is Eru Whare. He's been involved with the white ribbon longer than I have, and also to a huge certain extent with the green ribbon, which is the rats. And so he could, when it's your turn, bro, he could fill in those gaps. But it's been 2013 I started. This is my 7th tour of duty. And I say that because it means, well, a couple of weeks away from your loved ones. I was very fortunate and lucky to get away the first year, and I'm pretty happy that my partner actually allowed me to, because when this fella asked me, when Eru Whare asked me, I only had 2 days to tell her. But it's a huge journey for me. It's a huge journey for these guys. Like, we've only just started. We haven't even left the North Island yet. And so to my left, we got Eru Whare from the Waikato, and again he can speak on his behalf. And to the far left of me, we got the short fellow over here with lots of hair. Call him House. Don't know why you want to call him House. Maybe because he's such a small fellow. But this is his second tour of duty in the White Ribbon Rider. Now, just to emphasise the difference between there are the White Ribbon events that are run concurrently, and then there's the other side of the coin, which is the White Ribbon Riders. Okay, and so we complement each other. We sort of bring the noise. We're campaign riders. We travel all around the country. Takes 6-9 months to prepare for this trip. We do it out of our own pocket, so any dollars or petrol vouchers that people can throw our way is awesome. So to all you fellas that have helped us or are going to help us, kia ora rawa atu. So I'd like to introduce this fella. You heard enough from me. Kei te pai, Eru Whare. Eru Whare, brother.
Ai, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, ngā iwi te whānau, ko iru whare tōku ingoa, ko waikato tainui te iwi, tainui te waka, ko Ngāti Tahinga te hapu, e noho ana ki te kāinga o Ngārua Wahia, ko Pukerewa te marae, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Yeah, so as I said, just like to, very grateful to be here at this time, and I just really want to acknowledge Tribal Nations community and their motorcycle club for the brilliant work that they've been doing over the many years. I've been at the inception of the naming rights at the round table when they first initially talked about the ingoa or Tribal Nations. Don't know how I got to sit at the table, my bro, and I'm not even a member, but hey, I know.
Which is true. Just to emphasise the bro, Tribal Nations, the bro used to run a club called Tribal Waka, and Tribal Waka was like whatever waka you belonged to, and whatever tribe, that was your waka, and that's it. That's what he ran many years ago. And so part of the kōrero and why the name came from Tribal Nations, I can emphasise, come from this fella. So kia ora whānau, te rau.
So yeah, I'm very privileged to be in the vicinity of Tribal Nations for all the good work that they've been doing behind with the white ribbon, with Rider Respect and the green ribbon. And notably to know that a radio station such as this up in the Waikato, they have their rides that they normally do, and I think this is a bit of ingenuity here where the Tribal Nations again have sort of stepped out of that area in terms of what motorcycling is about and actually bringing the voice to the community within the Wairarapa, and having a radio station to be able to exonerate the kōrero that comes through the airwaves, and to touch those listeners out there that are listening. I think it's a really, really awesome concept. So, but I'm also fortunate to meet the brother over to my left, Tana. He's his first year with us. He's going to be joining us. And like always, my bro, we've had some really good, some guys that have come down to support this kaupapa. And as Tiki mentioned, brother Big Dan, it's his second year, and it's awesome to see riders come back year after year after year. And it's not just about the ride; it shows the worth to the cause, and obviously that's what we're here for today.
Massive.
Kia ora, brother. Thank you for that kōrero. Brother Dan, Brother House, your second trip with the whānau on the white ribbon kaupapa.
How you doing? Yeah, mate, number 2 trip. Kind of excited. First year I had a little bit more time than the brother Tiki did. He gave me about 4 weeks to know, and then told me, "No, just think about it. Just have a think about it. Let me know." Didn't take long, not even 2 minutes. I was, I'm hooked, mate. Yeah, sign me up, I'm in. And then this been round 2. Keen as. It's not so much the ride, though that's fantastic. The kaupapa speaks for itself. So, wrapped to come again.
Oh yes, it's a privilege to have you fellas call in, and thank you for doing that. Thank you. Nothing better than to get the direct kōrero from people on the road who are going to be travelling the road, taking the kaupapa to the motu. So thank you whānau for that. Brother, got anything else to add about that? Your journey heading south? Where are you starting from?
Yeah, well, Nelson. Oh, hang on, we got a Picton.
Yeah, Picton. Yeah,
We're staying in Picton. We've got the event first main event in Nelson. So keen to meet some new riders that are coming on board. We got up to 18 riders, and so those are the riders that do the solid run all around the South Island. And so the whole idea is that if you want to jump on, doesn't matter where you live, you could be out on the farm, just jump on and just follow us to the events. And usually what happens is we stop at an event, and we're sort of like the highlight for the event when the bikes come in. And so that kicks off from every town, and so it's really hard yakka. It can be tiring sometimes, because you know, at the end of the day you look like a prune, and you know, you get sun blasted by the road, by the radiation coming off from the road, and the noise. You hear the ringing of the bike in your ears for about the next week or so. But the thing I like about it is it gives you it gives me the opportunity to meet so many people that I would never ever meet if I was just doing what I do in the ordinary way. So, and just to be able to meet the people, to go on a ride like this with these guys, these gentlemen and these women, you form such a very extremely close relationship. So much so that when you're riding, you can almost feel each other on the road, and there's that connection that you have, and the love of being able to be with them. I miss them every year because we have such a fantastic time. It's 10, 12 days of intense kaupapa driven activities, plus the riding, the event itself. Highlights. It's going to be highlighted at the where's the place that we're going to finish off?
We'll be back in
Kaikoura. Well, Kaikoura is one of the biggest ones there, so that's going to be the highlight for us for their trip. You want to say anything else, bro, about that?
One thing we learnt about doing the South Island, you know, this is its 9th year, it's my 9th year, so I've been there right from the start. Each year has been really different. This effectively, out of the 9th year, will be our 5th year hitting the West Coast. And we've been really, really privileged to be able to go into, like Tiki said, many places that you would never ever think of going, you know. We can pretty much do that South Island now and go to all these places with our eyes shut. And that's how intimate that you become with this whole kaupapa, and so to speak, that you've made many friends throughout the South Island, you know, and every year you come down, these guys keep coming back up to you, and they remember you, you know, and that's that I think that soul connection that you have when you're sharing this kaupapa amongst a lot of the people throughout the motu. What I can say about the kaupapa, though, in particular, very different from up here in Te Ika, Maui, in the North Island here. Down in the South Island, it's quite spread out in terms of domestic violence, and that a lot of people don't actually come out. A lot of them sort of still standing on the sideline watching from afar. And it's quite hard when you're sort of doing a kaupapa like this, because we go into a lot of schools. And I've always said that's your captivated audience. It's a given, you know, because kids are at school. The real people that we need to target are the simple whānau, your commercial entities. We have a lot of the stuff around being bullied at work stuff. So it's, you know, when we talk about domestic violence or violence in general, it varies in terms of how people's lives live. And we tend to come down with a message in terms of relationship building and building good relationships with your sons. But like I said, we have to be careful in terms of how we put that kaupapa out, because sometimes when we're going into the schools and into the colleges and we talk to these tamariki and rangatahi about the causes of violence or bullying and that, we have to be careful, because we don't know what environment they've just come from on that particular day. So they might come and listen to us and bang, go back home and talk about some of the stuff that we've talked about, and literally it could be the wrong environment that they've come from. So it's when the Families Commission initially ran this before the White Ribbon Trust, they had a sort of a deadline way on how you make the approach to the audience. And in the first 2-3 years, the speakers were paid by the Families Commission. They had a script in how they should do this, and I actually refused to speak along those guidelines because that was a general kind of a outlook in terms of a nation. But when you're like us going into these small communities sort of like this, you become intimate with their community. It's not the motu anymore, it's just particularly these communities. So you have to be critique your kōrero based around what you feel within their community, because each community is different. It's sort of like you can't do the one gumboot fit all kind of kōrero. You can generically talk about that, yes, but for the brother and I, it's about connection. You know, we need to connect with the audience that we're speaking to in order to find something about them before we can actually release our kōrero.
Yeah.
And you have different levels of age groups that you go into. We've been into men's awareness groups and prisons. We're going into prisons again with the colleges and intermediate schools. So your kōrero has to suit that particular audience with regards to the message that needs to be shared. And so you have to be quite, I guess, clued up in terms of how you put that message across. Yes, the kaupapa is about domestic violence. It means, ending violence towards women and children. We know that's the main kaupapa. But again, sometimes you can't really share a lot of that too at the same instance, because we need to be very mindful, in particular around the kids and rangatai, as I said. And women are more vulnerable to be able to take what you say, and because while women, what we've noticed throughout our hikoi or haringa is that a lot of women are quite scared in how they make approach to the males. But then again, on the other flip side, a lot of females want a strong male. So we sort of tend to pick that up when a lot of the audience tend to come and have one-on-one after we've done our whole presentations, whether that be at a kura, in the prison, in a woman's group or a men's group. So yeah, it's quite varied in terms of how we look at this. But as Tiki said, I mean, the kaupapa is awesome, Big Dan, but for us it's about connection, definitely about connection.
Yeah. Part of it too, bro, is the being able, like the brother said, how to read the audience. And so what me and the bro bring together through the Tiki and Iru Biker Show, I'll say that again, Tiki and Iru Biker Show, is we bring a sense of humour. But it's not a humour in the sort of way where you just laugh and laugh. There's a serious message in there, humour. And Māori have this connection, they have this hard case thing, but there's a seriousness within that. And so, like, when we look at the audience, if it's little tamarikis that want to do a bit of kapahaka and sing a waiata, well, I just bring out my my patu. And I always say that this is the modern patu. It even looks like a patu, you see. And then I start singing the song. And it just immediately disarms everyone, because it's like, who are these fellas coming in on these loud motorbikes? And then suddenly, this guy will dance, do a ballet dance, and I'll start singing like a birdie, and all the kids go, ooh, look at those fellas. One of the things that I find that hits my heart is when I have children, they come up to me and they say, oh, uncle, Chair, you think you're cool, eh? And then we just start cracking up with all these tamariki, and I find a lot of our boys, they're really wanting male attention, They're hungry for it, and when they get these fellas come up and we start playing with them and they're, just having fun, they just go, wow, man, what a cool, never seen fellas like you before. And that's a start, that's a start. So we may not be able to cover all the bases, but we do what we can, given the resources that we have, and given that that's how we express ourselves. So that's another element that we also bring.
So, and for Tiki and I, this is sort of like a brand to us down here. I've been doing this kaupapa now for 11 years, and when initially the Super Māori fellas took it across the nation looked at it with open eyes. After that first year, Super Māori fellas had finished, the Families Commission had stepped in. Of course, at that time, the nation was looking at a kaupapa that will, I guess, verify to the nation that the government want to actually generally do something about the nation, and this was sort of like its flagship. So Rob McCann at the time, who headed the representative from Families Commission, put all this together and came out with the rōpus of the Redeemed and the Patriots. The Super Māori fellas didn't. I think they were approached, but they had to do something around the trust not being registered, so they lost out with the funding, and a lot of the funding went to the Redeemed and the Patriots. So for the first 2 years, the Patriots and the Redeemed were the flagship for the White Ribbon, and the White Ribbon ride itself was only up in the north, for the North Island at the time. The White Ribbon ride itself initially kicked off from Bream Bay, which is in the far north, up in Ruakaka. So they were the ones who initially started the first original White Ribbon ride, but the Super Māori fellas took it nationwide. Families Commission stepped in and decided to carry this kaupapa on now, which we see has ventured now going into its 12th year. I've been a part of it for 11 of it, and the tribe Wakato Tainui at the time decided to take heed of what the government had said. Yes, we want to do something. So my involvement was that is because I had been riding motorcycles. A lot of our tribal members saw the Super Māori fellas, at that time, said, oh yeah, we need to sort of marry one and one together, put the kaupapa, get some bikes. So naturally I was there, and the person who spearheaded this was actually one of my old bosses when I used to work in the health sector and family sector back in the days. So I supported the tribe on organising the first 2 initial White Ribbon rides where just like us, guys like us come on the bikes and came into Hopopo at the time. And the tribe wanted to be seen to be doing something for its people. So they did that with the organisation and of myself and our committee. The first 2 years was a success, but then the tribe turned around and said, hey, maybe we need to actually give this back to the community, because we don't want people to think that this is a Māori issue. Hey, it's not a Māori issue. We don't want people to misunderstand what this kaupapa is about. So we want to give it back to the community, and we will become part of the community now as a tribe, and for our tribal members to get involved with that. So initially when that happened, that stopped me from organising the ride, and I thought, wow, now I can go on a ride. So which I did, and I joined the first 2 rides only so far. When I finished hurried up, clean up out of Hopopi, then I shot up with all the bikes up to Auckland, and then a lot of raruraru happened around the Pūtea between the motorcycle clubs at the time, and I said, oh man, I didn't want to come here for that, I'm in here for the kaupapa. So I thought, I'm going to step out and just go and support community events. And then all of a sudden, the Families Commission come up and introduced the South Island ride, and I thought, oh, geez, I feel like be part of that. So I signed up, and myself and some of the Hauraki chapter at the time with the original North Island riders that came down, who in particular only lasted 2 years and never came back. But 9 years, 7 years for the brother Tiki, yes, it's like I said, there's so many memories and so many things that have gone through this kaupapa that you can take, from this one kaupapa. And it's sometimes you don't even want to talk about this to people because you've been talking about it all day, to the motu or to the places you go to, and then people come up and talk to you and carry on talking to you. So it's, even though you don't want to talk to them about it, you still got to carry on, and be mindful that's the whole kaupapa while we're down here for, is to reach out and extend our hand out to those that are seeking and looking for that, What I do say though to those that are listening, And I've said this quite too often, and this also goes with the Green Ribbon or the Rats riders. You know, we can ride and ride and ride to these kaupapa, and we can raise awareness. But if you actually don't hop off your bike and actually go and do further training, you actually defeat the purpose about what it is that you're riding with, you know. And I did this exercise at one of these fellas' Rats ride, and I picked up one of their members, and I just said, out of the blue, you know, I mean, what are some of the signs that, you know, blah, 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 around suicide? Sorry, just going off the white ribbon, but, and he couldn't pick up, you know, those types of little things that, you know, he should have known, just simple things. So it highlighted to me that, you know, for myself at that particular time, I said, yeah, I need to look at this a bit differently, because I've ridden to these kaupapa thinking, yep, I'm part of those that just create awareness. But I turned around and said, oh, hang on, this stuff actually happens in my family, and I actually know nothing about it. So, and that's what drove me to the point where, hang on, I've actually got to take time out of my life, sign up to certain things that allow me to have certain training around domestic violence or even around suicide. And that gains or gives me the knowledge to be able just to know that little bit more that I never knew before. And that's why I can now sort of hop on my bike and actually walk the talk, so to speak, because I've not only just gone and done the training, I've sat with the people like we do every year. We've listened to the stories. We've had people come up intimately and tell us what their current life was like, you know. And being in the social service sector, you know, one thing that they will always tell you is don't get too personal with your clients, don't get too close to them, you know. And you understand why that is. For Māori it's hard. Hey, for Māori it's hard because, hey, we're grown up to look after our people. But the good thing about being Māori is that sometimes we make terrible judgment, but on most other sense, when it comes to our whānau hapu and iwi, we can make some really, really good judgment, you know, and pathways and how we can sort of create that for some of our people. So, you know, people out there, sometimes if you are going to ride, you know, just take a look at yourself. What does it mean? You just want to be a rider, or do you actually want to learn something about, not about trying to save the people, but what about your own family, you know? Because we don't want to contradict ourselves when we're sort of supporting one kaupapa and we're actually not addressing this kaupapa at home. And we need to be mindful in how we sort of look at that. And that's the reason why I come every year, you know, because it's personal to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I struggle with stuff too, you know. I'm not saying that I'm an angel, but I do struggle with a lot of stuff. But this is a kaupapa that helps, brings you down to earth, you know, and it makes you redefine of what, you know, sort of man you want to be, or woman you want to be, or father you want to be. And it's our 1 year that we look forward to, that we're going to spend with our southern whānau. You know, I mean, like Tiki said, we've been away from them for a year, but it doesn't even feel like that because we know them so intimately, and they're very, very awesome people to be with, you know. So it's our contribution back, I guess, to the nation. I've probably contributed about 30 grand on this whole thing now, you know, and the preparation leading up to this, but it's the rewards you get back from it, eh? And I must say to our people, you know, it's not about getting rewards, but the financial rewards anyway, but the rewards that you get back from being on a hikoi like this, sitting and talking to just normal Joe Blogs people, or other Māori that, you know, belong down the other end of the earth kind of thing. It's just awesome to be in their vicinity and just to sit with them. The prisons, I find with the men in there, it's not a captivated audience, although they're there to listen, because a lot of those men are in for certain different reasons. So you've got to try and think, how can you try and bring 60 odd men and tune into the kaupapa that you're going there for. And like Tiki said, you know, we have to do a Māori icebreaker initially to captivate the audience in order for us to get across the message. And as for Māori, you know, even though there's a script or something that we're supposed to say to normal people, we might not say it exactly like how they want us to say it, but we actually tie it in a way that we know that we can, that the audience are listening to us and they're going to get something out of it. And we only know that later because you get all the fellas come up to you later, you know, they're allowed to talk to you one-on-one, but with a guard there. And that's where you find the reward, is when these men are reaching out. And you find, you know, they're just like you and I, really. And they may have lost a bit of direction there. As Tiki was saying, little young men, you know, they look up to they're wanting fatherhood, you know. And sometimes some of these men are the same. They lost in their fatherhood. They never had that idol to look up to, you know. And they seek it within themselves. And, you know, I mean, hey, I've done some dumb things in my life. But not to a point where it's ended me up in prison. But these guys are generally looking for help one way or another. Even if they've been caught up in the domestic violence scene, you know, some of them never had the right fatherhood or a leader to look up to, somebody to look up to. And we find that also within the women. It's sort of hard talking to women sometimes, you know, when they've been in broken relationships and they're talking to you about their situation. Because they tend to sort of seek a very different kind of a thing from men, and but bearing in mind the kaupapa is about the woman, you know, so we have to try and find a way in how we can marry both men and women together to unite this kaupapa. And it can be challenging sometimes, depending on the community and your audience. And in most other times, like I said, it's just unforgiving. It's just, you know, rewarding, eh? And we can't really explain how that is. You just got to come with us on the ride and see it for yourself, eh? You know, I don't know what it's like up here in the North Island now, but I know with Aaron Morrison doing the west or the east, and Takarua, who will be joining tomorrow for about an hour as they start their campaign off in Wellington, as they make their way up the North Island too. But all I know, in the 9 years I've been down there, it's been really awesome, you know, and thank God, you know, like yourselves as motorcycle clubs, you know, our Iron Hoiho can take us to those areas, you know, and it's a privilege, to be honest. It's a privilege, and I'm not a big bike rider, you know. I boast about 6,000 kilometres every year, but that's only from this one ride, and people think, oh geez, you know, these fellas do a lot of riding, and all we do is just make up videos just for one ride and make it look like we've been riding all year.
They think we do this 24/7. But you know, we gotta pay some bills, eh, bro? Someday. And I guess what the bro said, you know, the white ribbon is, I would go as much as to say, it's the mother of all rides, only because there's been some huge overflows because of the white ribbon. One of the overflows is the green ribbon, which again is associated with this brother here, who was the original chairman of the Green Ribbon Trust way back then in the old days, when we were starting to sort of find our way through. And so there's that overflow. And the club itself, you know, in 2013, when I came down here for the first time, it sort of set the basis for tribal nations in a lot of ways, because the first guy I met from the South Island was Colin Agnew, who, as many of our members know, is an ex-ambassador of tribal nations. And of course he's still involved, still heavily involved in a lot of the work there in Nelson. Still always will be. Still has a heart for the kaupapa of tribal nations. But then keep going, 2013, 2014, 2014, then 15, when the Waikato chapter was still emerging. Just by being involved in the Waikato, just by being involved in the White Ribbon in the South Island, kicked off the whole of the tribal nations in South Island. So, you know, that's another huge overflow there, which is a good thing that started, because when the Green Ribbon started happening in the Rats, you needed an well-organised, highly oily trained personnel to be able to take that kaupapa all over the place. Now, the first thing is we're a motorcycle group, but the whole idea of the Rats was you are a rider against teen suicide. So it didn't matter who you were or what you were, what club you associated to, you could be a Rats rider. And so what gives us as Tribal Nation members a bit of peace of mind is that we can also be a motorcycle club and enjoy all the benefits thereof. But at the same time, we could get involved with the green ribbon, we get involved with the white ribbon. That's why I emphasise that if you look at the whakapapa and the strength of the tree and where the roots came from, and that's where I can plainly say that it was white ribbon that started to sort of kick those things. That phenomenally changed clubs in the way that they sort of thought, like, hey, yeah, we do a fundraiser. Now you've got fundraising for the whales, fundraising for the crickets and the bees and the birds, you name it. And that's an awesome thing, because a rider, they want to ride. They'll fund and they'll support the best way they can. Another good overflow is the fact that the Waikato, we're getting into a bit of training for our members, just to get a bit of knowledge in and around domestic violence and suicide. And so that helps us, because when me and the bro used to go down the South Island and do these rides, and then he goes, oh brother, you've got to come to this wānanga. And I said, what's this wānanga? Is there? Somewhere in Auckland. Well, it was a media training with Brembrae Trust and E Tu Whānau. And what it was about was how do you communicate to the community while you're in an event? Because they're going to come up to you and they're going to look at you and they're going to think that you're the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, and the counsellor, and the everything. And you need to know all these. We just need to have enough information. You don't need to know too much. Then again, like the bro said, it was about, oh, geez, I've got the same crap happening in my whānau. Geez, I need to do something myself. I need to look at my backyard. And that's what's happened, you see. And so there are benefits in so many different ways. We just got to keep going and keep going. Hey, what's the ultimate answer? Hey, I don't know. If I could tell you, I'd be a multi-billionaire. But I can't, so I don't know that. All I know is that clean my backyard up first, focus on my family, be the best man I can, so that she doesn't kick me out into the dog box. She's probably listening. Kia ora, darling. Probably listening to me now. But
yeah, it's important to do the training, eh? I think so. That's my personal opinion. Because the rewards start to look differently when you know a bit more, because then you can understand the dialogue that's been talked amongst the suits, and just the normal people and how they connect up together. So you can sort of assess from your angle and how that looks, what that looks like and what might happen. And knowing a little bit more than what you didn't know about before helps you construct a way in how you can view that whole concept. And with regards to the green ribbon or suicide stuff that we, to be honest, when I've been involved with the green ribbon or the Rats Ride since its inception, although again the super mighty fellas again were at the catalyst of this, and I know they were at the round table with Kahui Neho, who was the brainchild behind the Rats, and it just happened to say that the discussions happened between the super mighty fellas and her. It just didn't go the way that it should have gone. For whatever reason that happened there, I just happened to be. I actually came off this ride out of the South Island, and I remember I was on live video, down this end. The next day I showed up in Ruakaka, so I rode all night. I finished the last event down here, jumped on the overnight boat, and I shot straight up to Ruakaka. And then I came in when they were having the last event of the day up there, and I rode in. And that particular day, Kahui's dad had passed away, so we went up to the tangi up there, and that's how my first inception coming around the Green Ribbon Trust, or the Rats. And I remember Kahui and I sitting just outside the kitchen up at her marae in Matawaia there. And she started talking to me about it. And because I've been associated with the White Ribbon Ride, she had this thing about, again, kaupapa motorcycles, bring the noise, I've got the kaupapa. bring the noise in the community. What's happening here? And that's how we married the two up. But in order to make that whole rats thing look official, it had to come under governing body in order to kickstart it off. So the Green Ribbon Trust was created, and hence the reason you get the green ribbon, which basically is a mimic to the white ribbon. So the Green Ribbon Trust was started, and we decided to officiate in how a lot of these events were happening. And we used to go into all these different communities, but at that time it was controlled and dictated by Kāhui. So when I come on and coming from a Māori point of view, I said, oh, hang on, this looks a bit wrong, because we're telling communities, and you've got the next one and you're going to run it, but you're going to do it like this. And my view coming in from the outset, I said, well, no, hang on. Let's us support the community and let the community, run it themselves. Why? Because they know their community, they know their whānau. And I'm sitting there and I said, oh, like how am I going to be leaving from Ngarawaihi and going all the way to Gisborne to go and help someone do their kaupapa, and do it every weekend, until the kaupapa date happens? I said, no. So it was about anybody who wanted the rats was to come to a rats event and tono for it. And it was the easiest way to do it, because then we know that they wanted it. So if they tonoed for the kaupapa, they take it back to their rohe, and then we now know that these guys are serious about this whole rats kaupapa. And so that was the catalyst in terms of the change in how we made it for the community, or the hapu in some cases, where we went down to Ngāti Wairere and down in Morrinsville, where they came and actually tonoed for that from their tumuaki down there actually. So yeah, and it's just all these sort of changes, because it made sense that people that wanted the kaupapa, they knew their community well. So all as we did was just, we were able to give them sort of the technical help, I guess, and how it looked. The people you needed to be there, your schools, just invite them, your churches and that, because it was about a community, it was a community event. Because a kaupapa, as you know, is only good as the people turn up, and it's not only about numbers, it's just about people being there, and also for those that want to be a runner kaupapa, they need to be proactive in how they want to get it across, because they want to know their worth is actually appreciated too. So as time evolved over time now, and I sit on a trust now over in the East Coast, which is called Ngāti for Life, which is run by a chairman Tuta Ngarimu over there, and we run a suicide concert up there every year. And I tell people today, I actually don't know nothing about suicide, and that's the truth. Because when you look at it in hindsight, and you look at where Mike King sort of sits and turns and where he talks, suicide is like a blanket. It's put over all the age groups. But when you actually take the blanket off, it's like in school. In schools, any parent out there that's listening knows that each age group is taught differently because of their age level of understanding. So one thing I learned about suicide is I know nothing about it, but I certainly do know what the contributions leading up to it and what the effects are left once it's happened. Now I can talk about those two, but I can't talk about what's in the middle, So I just need to be clear in terms of how people sort of view that, because that's the golden question that everybody wants to know, because you can save a person if you knew what that middle piece was. But since I don't know nothing about it, I can talk a lot about what are the contributions leading up to. What I do know, and I can tell you now, the age group that where a person has taken their life is the age group of 7. So we only can go far back as 7. And I know that one of the oldest persons that have taken their life that I know personally, somebody might know different, is 78. So here we've got this varied range of different ages. And what you got to understand between those ages, they actually have different contributions. Now, if you look at the time when you first went to primary school, you go to school and it was just name calling, cheek, The first intentional sign of bullying was just name calling. We, the days of us saying, oh, come on, boy, harden up. You can't say that to kids today. And I'll explain that a bit later on as to why that is. So all these different age groups, from the age group I tell people from 7 to about 11, they all get into this name calling, soft pushing and punching. That's where the first agitation for one's thought pattern to think differently, especially in child, in tamariki. So that's the first sign of where we have the creation of bullying. From the age group from 11 to about 15, a lot of you people out there that are listening now will know that a lot of your children now, or rangatahi, are quite internet savvy, social media savvy. So we're now getting away from the physical, verbal type of bullying. We're getting into social media stuff where we call cyberbullying. And this is where a lot of us parents actually fall down, because in one sense, we know that the internet helps for the education, blah, blah, blah. But on the flip side of things, it could be quite dangerous. And because our parents don't know enough about it, a lot of our parents say, oh, you give that boy that phone, he can go away and play the game. I tell you, my grandson, he knows how to get into the YouTube, he knows how to get on the internet, and he's only friggin' 4, So a lot of parents out there see this, they know that, and they know that just by giving a person a electronic gadget is a cop out, I say, because they think, oh yeah, it keeps them busy, so the parents can go off and do their own thing. Literally, do they know of what the kids are doing on that electronic gadget? So that age group from 11 to 15, we know the social media stuff comes out. And for a lot of you out there that are listening, you would know and understand that the content that comes through social media, it can be quite heavy, and heavy enough for a lot of our young ones to not understand it. So what actually happened is a lot of you that are listening, you would know and understand this, is that a lot of our kids now will get hooked on using their phones or their tablets. You tell them to go wash their hands for before tea, or go and take out the garbage or the rubbish. They can hear you, but they're not listening. And that's a fact. So that's the first sign of disconnection around communication. And communication is quite important because, in my days, it was about sitting across the table and talking. Kanohi ki te kanohi, face to face. We can look at what the physical person looks like, how they're feeling. But with social media and tablets, kids can send anything and don't know what the other person on the other end is feeling like. So it's far too easy to send a text, a message, Facebook stuff, and Snapchat, whatever it is, Instagram. It's far more easier to send their messages out to them, not knowing and understanding what the impact might be with regards to the person on the other end. So we're starting into that age group between that 11 and 15-year-old. What actually happens is over time it gets that whole way of communicating in that cyber world actually becomes a bit more heavy. Then we move to the age group from 15 to 19 or 20. They start getting into relationships, all right? And this is one of the big contributions around young men who have taken their lives statistically a lot more than the women to the young girls. And this is why what happens is because they're entrenched in this electronic or social media world, they get to that age group between 15 to 19 or 20. They're so caught up in their social ideological stuff is that by sending messages, and that is the way to communicate.
Yeah.
So when their girlfriend turns around and says, "No, I want to finish," blah blah blah. Next thing they're having a cyber war between each other because they don't have to face each other about their feelings. And what actually happens is that if the girl takes off with another man or a man takes off with another girl, the actual their hinengaro starts to fray in the way they think. And because they think that, oh, he was my love, he doesn't care anymore. So naturally our young rangatahi tend to get this thing around communication. Nobody else cares for me. So why should, why should I matter anymore being in this existence? So we're starting to get into all of that social media stuff where it's recreating some type of violence. It is cyberbullying, as I said. It can become physical, lead to, real sad to say it, but deaths, But in this case, it's around suicide, and this is the age group where a lot of our young men start to take their lives, and it's just generally over relationships. Why? Because their communication level that they learned from the ages 11 to 15 was implanted then. So they don't know any other way after that, even if the parents try to tell them. If the parents never intercepted it between the ages of 11 to 15, they've lost them after that. So we're getting into the 15 to 19 age group level now, where kids are starting to take their lives because nobody cares. They can't communicate because they think everything's done by phone and electronics. Then if those that do survive and further on past that, you get the age group from 20 to 35. They've got kids now. They're starting to have a baby. So the young man is looking at, I've got to find a job. Well, society today, jobs only like seasonal stuff. So the way of living, the parents are saying, oh boy, go and get a real job. You can't talk to kids that way because society isn't built like that anymore. A lot of people out there struggling to find full-time work as it is now to feed their kids and to pay the mortgage and blah, 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 you name it. So there's so much pressure already put on them now. So in that age group, between 20 to 35, 40, that age group is around financial issues. Supporting the kids, supporting the whānau, trying to have a steady job. You will find that most farmers, we've lost a lot of farmers over the last 3-4 years, averaging around about 3 to 4 a year, and it's all built around just their financial status. Right. Why? Because the farming industry has been up and down. So being young, they still fall into that age group between 15 to 20. They've grown up and implanted that type of sort of habits that they've taken on. They've moved into their next age group level from 20 to 40. They're trying to make it out on their own, go to work. Next thing, financial pressures are coming. The boss is coming down. How come you ain't making this work in my business, blah, blah, blah. So all the pressures are coming now. And mainly the men and how they look at things, they turn back and say, well, my missus got a kid, her parents will look after her. Sweet, they don't need me. So they exit. That's their way of exiting. As long as they tie up things. Generally, people, what they do is start pay the bills or they start to pay things off. Their behaviour changes from being sad to happy, outgoing, and their constant kōrero that comes back, are you okay? You guys okay? Are you set? They'll always ask, oh, you'll be all right. You'll always have your parents. So these are some of the kōrero in terms of signs, just by picking up that and how they... And then when they exit, it's not until then that you turn back and look, shit, he was actually trying to tell me, or she was trying to tell me something. So we get into that situation. The 35, 40-year age group to the 60, all it is, it's just about holding on to the jobs because they're in that age group where we are. We're a bit more stable, We have a job. Most people don't want to lose jobs because if they have gone to university and got levels of degree or what, it's very hard now to find those types of jobs out there. So you'll get the normal plumbing, electrician, building, truck driving, all these manual jobs out there that these high-level skilled people actually can't adapt to. So it's about maintaining whatever work or jobs that they get. And if they can't find that in that, most people sort of just exit themselves because they feel that they don't have any worth to contribute to their whānau. So, for you out there listening, there's varied age groups in terms of how they look. 60 plus, a lot of you hear this, kia ora koro, kia ora nana, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. Literally, do your parents, grandparents want to tell you whether they mamai, they got arthritis or they... having slight, they're not going to tell you that. Why? You only my mokapuna. You got years to live. You don't need to worry about me. Hey, and they do generally. I mean, most people out there listening, try it for yourself. Go and ask your grandparents. Just ask a simple question. The response will be just exactly what I said. Oh, I'm okay, you know. Don't worry about me, moko. Bite there, you know. So, you know, it's those types of things. So we don't know what's happening in the background of those people, eh? So when we come to suicide is not a blanketed. You've got to look at the age group and look at what happened in between there, because it's very different to at the other end of the level. And I always say to people, if you don't understand that, you're not going to intercept those signs earlier. So that's the build up to the after effect. Once it's happened, well, we as Māori know only too well. The whānau goes through it. The mamae is now left for the other people to deal with it, you know. And the mamae, really, if you think really hard about it, the mamae it's just not knowing. Why? Because we saw the signs, but nobody understood them. So I tell a lot of the listeners out there, or mates that I see, you've got to recognise what these signs are in that age group level, you know. And if you don't know what they are, you can't pick up and help. You can't deal with a 60-year-old going through suicide issues the same as what you're dealing with the 5 to 11-year-old. Very different, because they two different understandings, eh?
Yeah, there's not one formula.
Yeah. So awesome.
It's like a taniwha with so many heads. It's like whack-a-mole. You see, you hit the mole, the next one pops up, and you hit that, the next one pops up. But if each and every one of us is doing our particular job, it doesn't have to be a big job. It can be just one bit. It can just add to it and add to it. But you know, the white ribbon, it's broad. You know, it's not only that. There's violence in all different. It comes in all different faces and all different levels. But some of us can only do it one bit at a time. How do you eat an elephant? How do you build a brick wall? One brick at a time. You know. And but kia ora, fellas. How's our time, brother?
Just thank you for your kōrero, brother. That was very, very awesome, brother. We only got enough time for your waiata.
Cheer, bro. Well, here's our waiata. This was originally written for the white ribbon, but you can actually chuck your own organisation in.
Anyway, my bro, we just like to say thank you to Clint and for allowing us to be here. It's been awesome, you know, and I can't say enough about the dynamics of what you've introduced to the Tribal Nations community. You know, it's something very different from what people would expect from a motorcycle club, you know. But it just shows that, you know, even people that wear patches and that are just normal people too, so, you know. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Rangi mari e aroha kia kotahi e Haruru ana ngā moto paika Hanei te rōpū mata waka E haere ana tautoko te kaupapa o te rā Ka haere ka wiwi ki wā Me kimi he te ara tika e Hararu, hararu Kia tere, marunga moto paika e Haruru ana, ngā moto paika Haruru ana, ngā moto paika Kia ora whānau, ngā mihi atu kia kūtau katoa.
Kia ora whānau, ngā mihi tō kōrero whānau. That was just awesome, whānau. On behalf of Horo Whenua Te Upoko Tribal Nations MC, I'd like to wish you, whānau, all the best on your white ribbon haerenga, and safe travels, and go strong with the kaupapa whānau. And don't be afraid to give us a call on your trip. Yeah, so we'll look forward to that. So on behalf of the whānau here in the studio today, safe travels, all the best. Go well, whānau.
Awesome. And anybody that have any questions about what's been talked about, these two guys over here to my left can answer all of that. Kia ora, whānau.
Kia ora.
Bring them.
Will bring you news of the festivals and special events in the Spanish and Argentinian calendar, and lots